Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
Well, good afternoon, Patrick.
It's great to be here with you, Judge. It's September now. Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers, except a little negative note.
What?
Some group of surveyors have deemed IU to be the worst college for free speech. What do you think about that?
Here are two IU grads, and we are all about free speech,
Absolutely.
Which is why I want to remind we have a special right here. I was able to get my hands on Congressman Messier's itinerary during the break.
Congressman Messmer.
Here's all of the meetings Congressman Messier had during his break from Congress. He's back now, and he can vote along with Senator Banks. Some of you wonder what this could be. This is a hearing device so that maybe someone can hear Senator Young take a position on anything.
Wait a second, he's taking a lot of positions.
Really?
He's doing a good job.
On what? Here's a man who ran on his military record, sits silently as we change the name from the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Aren't you embarrassed about that?
I am a little bit embarrassed by that because after World War II, there was a lot of impetus to change the focus to that we're not just there for wars, we're there to keep the country and the world safe.
Pax Americana, it served pretty well for 85 years. Europe used to fight over religion and everything else. We got that one done. It's really served us well.
By the way,
Donald Trump, who's campaigning for the Nobel Peace Prize, says, you know what, he should have the Nobel Peace Prize. Department of War, he's put American soldiers' boots on the ground, but only in American cities. Ridiculous.
Well, Chicago will be a lot safer place to visit. Hey, Patrick, another change in cabinet positions.
Yes?
HHS, now that RFK is there, is now the Department of Pestilence.
RFK Jr., who, if his last name was
RFK,
Wilson, wouldn't have been able to get a job as a dog catcher, is capable perhaps of cleaning septic tanks, trades on the name Kennedy, and rebuts and refutes everything that family ever stood for.
You know, sometimes it's worthy to have an interesting discussion about current events, but when things involve science and you ignore the science like this department is doing right now, it's shameful and harmful to this country.
He gets on camera. I mean, I don't trouble about his voice. I know he has some affliction, but he looks haggard. He's an embarrassment. The cabinet is an embarrassment.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Do we have any report, by the way, on the $50,000 Save WNIN fundraising where you have agreed, if they raise $50,000, to shave your mustache?
I can't get involved in fundraising ethically. I told you that.
Whose mustache then would be shaved? We have heard, however, and before we get, and we've got a great show for you today, you're going to meet the new superintendent of the Evansville-Vanderburgh School Corporation right here. But before we do that, you know, we have 5 million loyal viewers.
Yeah.
And I want to salute a few of them who I know because I hear from them. First off, to Uncle Honey, Melissa Moore, a EVSC school trustee. Uncle Honey never misses a show. Thank you, Uncle Honey. To the nice lady that walks with Mrs. Levko, Jean, thank you for always watching. And Barbara, from the UU Church here in Evansville, you always get the magic words. I hear from them regularly, and I know you do too.
Yeah, yeah.
When we come back, we're going to meet the EVSC's new school superintendent. Stay tuned.
Don't go away.
Welcome back, 5 million viewers. We have a treat for you today. We want to introduce you to the new superintendent of the Evansville-Vanderburgh School Corporation, Dr. Darla Hoover. Dr. Hoover, welcome to Shively Shoulders.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell all of our viewers your background. Give us a little bio here. They need to know who is opening and closing all of our schools.
Sure. Want me to start at the beginning?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was born in Evansville, and I went to Washington when it was a K-8 school. there on Rotherwood, grew up right there, and went to Bosse High School, and then went to the University of Evansville, majored in chemistry. Worked in industry at Red Spot Paint for a few years and just felt a calling to come back to education. I loved my school experiences, had a great public education there, and felt like that was the right move for me. So I went back to my alma mater and taught chemistry at Bosse, and then became a department chair, an assistant principal, a principal, and have been a central office administrator. All told, I've been in education for 24 years.
Wow.
Right here, so you're homegrown and a graduate of EVSC.
I am. That's
Just
correct.
like Shively Shoulders.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
Public education is on the primary target for legislators, the president, the governor. Let's take a couple topics here. First of all, the state level. They've reduced funding by cutting property taxes. The school corporation doesn't have another funding source necessarily to replace that. What's your plan?
Yeah, so we're certainly keeping our eyes on that. The proposed circuit breaker reductions could mean $16, $17 million for us. So that would be huge. We're hopeful that it won't end up being that deep, but what that will mean for us is there'll be projects, capital projects specifically, that we just can't do, buses that we can't buy. And so, our buildings, a number of them are aging buildings, and the upkeep on those buildings, we have fixed costs. We're going to pay our electric bills, but that'll mean things like roofs and carpet. We'll have to take a look and won't be able to replace those as quickly as we would want to.
On a happy note, we've got great people.
Absolutely
in the EVSC, evidenced most recently by those great scores. Talk a little bit, let's pat ourselves when we can. Other than the great legal department, we also got great iRead. Was it iRead?
It was iRead.
What is that test and what did we do? We got some kind of award.
Yeah, so in Indiana, the third grade literacy test, the state of Indiana has a goal of 95% of students being proficient.
Could he pass that test today, you think?
You're talking to a chemistry teacher. You can't spell chemistry.
So in Indiana, by the end of 2027, 95% of our students are supposed to be proficient on this iRead test. EVSC this year, the state of Indiana improved 5%. We improved 11%.
Wow.
So
big time.
we, in some of our schools, had extraordinary gains. We're in the 30s, certainly had room to grow, but ended up in the 80s. And so we as a district now are just under 84%, which is a big movement for us. We're really thrilled. Our teachers have worked hard. Our students and families have worked hard. So we're really proud that the Indiana Department of Education invited us to come to the state board to share our successes this year. So that's been a great start to the year.
It's even more impressive. This morning on the internet was a story, the National Report Card on Public Education. We are not as proficient as you should be in science, math, and reading was a big category, yet we're bucking the trend nationally.
Yeah, our reading scores are good. Now I'll say the not so good news is for most schools in Indiana, EVSC is not different than this. Our iLearn scores tell a different story. I think the state of Indiana proficiency on iLearn, which is our ELA and math scores, are around 40% proficient. So, just wondering what that means if as a state that's where we are. But we have room to grow, and I think we've learned some things through iRead that we'll carry forward for iLearn.
Well, and you come from I knew everybody in the school corporation darn well except the curriculum side because they never needed a lawyer. That's where you come from.
Correct.
Strategies were developed focusing obviously on reading, which for my money is the most important thing you can ever teach a kid. Once they can read, the whole world opens. But you can develop strategies, I guess, then targeted at these other areas?
Absolutely.
Is that how you do this?
Absolutely. So what's been helpful for us and our primary strategy is just you have to know where your kids are and you have to have interventions ready to go. So whatever your deficiency is, we've got teachers who specialize in that. We've invested in reading specialists in our schools. We have some teachers with master's degrees in reading. We've invested in the science of reading, and so we've have coaches, instructional coaches, and teachers who are ready for the challenge, and they're showing that they can get it done.
As I said earlier, the focus really is on public education, and the president now wants to eliminate the Department of Education. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about that? Well,
I think we do depend on the federal government for some of our funds. My understanding from Secretary Jenner is they feel they're going to be able to administer those funds in a fair way. I do think she understands the needs of students across the state, and she has made a commitment that regardless of the function of that federal department, the state of Indiana will be ready to go. So I'm hopeful that they'll still look at complexities and challenges and title funds and needs of certain student populations and be able to provide for those supports.
You took office or assumed the new position July 1?
Yes.
Biggest surprise between July 1 and September 9, or whatever today is?
Well, I would say biggest surprise, generally speaking, about the role is, you know, I'm an introverted person. And
soulful, kind of like me.
Just like you, obviously, just like you.
I get that.
And I knew the job would be a public job. And in my mind, there are things that are worth stepping out of your comfort zone for, and public education for me, specifically EVSC, is worth that. But it is an extremely public job. And so I'm spending my days in a lot of good conversations and out talking to this group and that group. So that's been a bit of a surprise because I'm used to being in classrooms, working with teachers, talking with teachers, talking about education. So this job is different than that. I would say more on the day-to-day, it is a surprise with funding and the way things have shaken out that you'll get an email about, you know, one Friday we got the email that federal funds had been impounded and we didn't know what that was going to mean for us. And we have people, we have salaries in some of that. So just being ready for those emails that are not good news, and is it going to turn around? And we are in a good position in our public school, but talking to superintendents across the state, there are some that are having conversations about can they make payroll. Like,
oh my gosh.
So we're not there, but that has been a surprise that it can change that quickly.
Unbelievable.
Let me ask you your impressions of this policy. The state of New York, Governor Hochul banned cell phones in all public schools, thinking that students having access to cell phones interferes with a proper educational environment. Your thoughts?
So the state of Indiana has similar, like we don't let students have phones in the classroom.
So we're ahead of New York.
We have that policy. It started a year ago.
It passed a law a year ago.
And so when we were talking a year and a half ago about what this is going to look like, I think fretting like, oh no, are we going to be engaging in constant banter with students? But honestly, it has been easier to implement than you would imagine. And students still have their phones at school. You know, they put them in their locker. Some students, you know, those shoe horns that people have that they cram their shoes in. You'll see in school sometimes one of those, not a shoe horn, what's it called? Those sacks. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
They go over the doors. They'll drop their phones in there. Students know they can't use them during class, but they have them. We know that they do. But yeah, we've kind of been there, and that's where we are right now with cell phones in Indiana. Yeah.
Go from this.
And I would say also, students, when that came about, some of them were outraged, but other students know they're a distraction. You know, they're aware,
sure.
and sometimes there's some comfort in like, I gotta put that away.
Right.
So
I think what gets lost, and you've come into this job, but the scope of the job you have. We have 40 buildings.
we do.
40 buildings. How many employees?
Oh my goodness.
3,000?
Yeah, 3,500.
One of the biggest employers. We got about 20,000 students.
21.
21,000, and your budget's
75 million.
275
it's larger
million.
than the city and county budget combined.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 275 million. You said at the top, perhaps the biggest corporation in Vanderburgh County. So we've talked about surprises. Let's talk about, with that massive, and it's a big job, the challenges right now. What keeps you up at night?
I would say if I could wave a magic wand, I would want every student to come to school without worry of food, shelter, stability, safety. Because if we could just focus on the actual education of students, I think we could go really far. There's so many needs, and so what keeps me up at night is thinking about those needs and how we're going to meet the increasing needs of students all the time. And you know, time is pretty precious between, you know, kindergarten and 12th grade, and we want them to be successful for their whole life. And so doing the very best that we can while we have them.
Let's talk about, pleasant subject, security.
Okay.
There have been some national events, very tragic events involving school shootings. Tell our viewers what EVSC has put in place to deal with those situations.
Yeah, this was a topic at the board meeting last night. So we take safety and security very seriously. One of the funding struggles that we have is the amount of money that we're given specifically for safety. The safety grant gives 40 schools across EVSC. We get one amount total, $92,000, which if you think about, like,
$92,000.
that's it for all of us. And so that's a struggle. We of course spend more than that. We have, I think, 8 school resource officers that we employ that are in our schools full-time. In addition, with partnerships with our sheriff and police departments, we have 7 to 8 additional police officers. So that's good for a lot of reasons. It's proactively building relationships, being a visible presence, but also there in the event we would ever need them.
Right.
Beyond that, we have secure entrances. You have to buzz in. There's a camera system where they can see. We have camera systems inside our schools. We have call buttons inside of rooms. If teachers would need it, they push the buttons and someone will come. But, you know, I think this topic we were talking about, we have safety plans. People say all the time, you need metal detectors, you need this, you need this. It is always on our mind, school safety. I think the biggest thing is having those resource officers in place and having those good relationships with law enforcement. But it is always something that we're talking about, always.
For many years, well, till now, the legislative response to the schools was to cut funding and complain about results. It seems to be the legislator's code. We went from a period of high-stakes testing, and I've forgotten all the names that Indiana had during the time. Where are we now? Do kids have to pass? Is there a high-stake test before you can move or matriculate or graduate?
Yes, the one that you mentioned earlier, iRead, is perhaps the highest stake, because in Indiana, if you don't pass iRead by the end of 3rd grade, there's a mandatory retention in place. So 3rd graders across the state are being retained.
So it's a mandatory
retention. Now, there are processes for waivers for students with special needs that are new to the country with limited English proficiency. There's a few ways, but there are some students that are being retained, so that's extremely high stakes.
And I guess the theory there would be is they've got to know how to read, and we're not going to keep just passing them on until they can show that proficiency.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, you know, before 3rd grade, you are learning to read. After 3rd grade, the curriculum changes and you're reading to learn. So if you haven't, if you're not a good reader, you're going to struggle in 4th and 5th.
I see that.
So that is extremely high stakes. iLearn still exists. That's the old iStep, probably
okay,
they're thinking
iStep,
of. And that's in grades
3
through 8, ELA and math. And SAT is the high school accountability test. And so there is a new accountability model coming in Indiana. Interestingly, perhaps unfortunately, that formula isn't yet solidified, but it starts this year. So we're adding to our grade right now, and we'll learn exactly where that formula lands in December, and then those grades will come out. But it is based on the base number for each student is going to be a standardized test for every grade except for 10th grade, which is based on how many credits you get as a freshman. But very much still, there's still high stakes.
And people don't realize that the EVSC, like all public schools, has to take all kids. In other words, special needs kids. And just hard to quantify, but how many special needs children do we have in our system, and what, in dollars and cents, what does that cost the system?
Yeah, it's very expensive. You know, I will say this. One thing I love about public education is that we take all. I mean, I believe in public education as a right for students and as the way for us to have a better community. I do. I think every kid should have access and opportunity. Special education students, some have extraordinary needs, and so it's very expensive. And you know, we have one-on-one assistance for some students. We have smaller class sizes based on their particular need. Millions of dollars we're talking about for special needs students, but it's right that they're there and they are they're learning, and so we're proud of their efforts.
And I think that number somewhere around 4,000 maybe
students
of special need type of, it's around that number.
Yeah, and I mean, some of it, like the umbrella of special education can be, you have a need for speech services all the way up to you have multiple disabilities in one room, but yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about that, because you bring up a great topic. Evansville's a little unique in this because it's hard to knock charter schools when you've got Signature School, which is one of the most outstanding successes in the United States of America.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
So, but setting that one aside, this legislative direction toward charters and vouchers and all of that takes funds away from public education into schools that do not have to provide a free and appropriate public education. Am I correct?
Yeah, and that's one of the, when you talk about threats to public education, I think that's a threat, like just knowing. And we see fund reduction because of sharing the tax dollars with charters. I think that was about $500,000 for us, a little over. And anytime a student leaves on a voucher, they're taking their ADM with them. And it's rare that it works out perfectly, that it's an entire class of fourth graders. You know, it's 4 students here, 3 students here, so you can't necessarily see a clear way to reduce your expense, even though the monies for supporting those students have gone. It just doesn't work out that way, you know, to package it up and say, okay, we lost exactly 23 third graders, so we will close that room. That's not how it works. And so it's a real threat for us. I think if we lost 500 students, just say for vouchers, that would be, I think, $3.5 million, something like that. It adds up very quickly.
We talked about this at the top of the program, about the property tax cuts and the shortfall. If you had the opportunity to sit down with the governor, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, just you and those guys, trying to convince them more resources need to go through public education, what would you say to them?
I don't think it's what I would say. I think what I'd want is for them to come and see our schools. I met with a gentleman today and we were talking about one of our title buildings and thinking...
Tell the viewing public what a title building means.
Well, a title school is designated as title based on the percentage of poverty and the neighborhood around it. But our schools are working so hard and trying to meet all of the needs, and cutting funds isn't going to get us where we need to go. When we start pulling away resources from communities that need those resources, we're relying, those kids are going to be who are leading our community in the future, so we have to invest in them, is what I would say. I don't know if it's a conversation so much as come and see it. Look in this classroom, talk to students, talk to teachers, see what's going on in those buildings. And then I think it's harder to do that.
And what they would see, correct me if I'm wrong, is that many of our buildings open up with preschool, pre-K services at what time? I mean,
in the morning?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, kids are getting there at 6:30.
6:30 in the morning.
You haven't seen 6:30 in the morning, have you?
Well, sometimes when I've played poker all night, no. So they're open 6:30, and then we have after school.
Yeah, they're staying till 5:30, plus programs that are going even after that. I mean,
And how many meals do we serve?
We serve
lunch and...
We serve breakfast, we serve lunch, we have snacks going for kids. We have after-school programs are giving kids snacks. I mean, we're trying to fill the needs in the community, and it's not a judgment. You know, parents, I think, are doing their best they can too in many situations. It's just the needs are there.
Right.
And while I read today that I think New Mexico became the first U.S. state to provide free daycare, we serve, let's all be honest here, we are daycare for working families. We have their kid while they go to work, right?
Right, and EVSC has pre-K. I mean, we have pre-K students.
So what can the public expect in the minutes we have left from a Dr. Darla Hoover superintendency? What's that vision thing that goes out into the future?
I would
your
say,
goals, your vision.
Yeah, I would say my vision is that all of our students are thriving, and I'm going to do my very best to make sure that we put our teachers and our students and our families in the best position for our kids to be successful. They have my commitment. I promise that is what I'm going to work on every day of my superintendency.
And you know, whatever school system, no matter how good is it, each school system has successes and then some, well, we're both proud graduates of the Evansville-Vanderburgh School Corporation, and we are very pleased. You said one of your hesitancy was public appearances. I think she did okay.
Did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. When we come back, Les will take another shot at Pat.
Patrick, a superb guest.
I think our schools are in good hands, Judge. It's always good when a bossy grad,
Right.
a principal, an administrator who knows the system takes the reins.
Here's the interesting thing is, David Smith was an instrumental music teacher.
Yeah.
She was a chemistry teacher. Different backgrounds, but a very strong vision.
Well, you and I are graduates of the EVSC. I mean, of the urban districts in this state, we got it pretty good.
Exactly. We're very fortunate. Any predictions for this weekend, football-wise?
Well, we got the Indiana and Indiana State game. I like the Hoosiers' chances there. Purdue's off to a 2-0 start.
That's scary.
Well, they're not a Division I program anymore, but it's good that they're still competing. It's been fun watching college football kick off and all of our local programs. Soccer and everything's up. Our high school programs are all going
Our
well.
alma mater's not doing too good.
They got a few problems out there with the Warriors, but they're showing up for every game.
They are showing up, and hopefully the crowd will stick with them.
Well, you know, if they would just leave everything to me and you, we could get it fixed. When we've got state people like the Three Stooges, Diego Immorales, Todd Rostupid, and Micah to heck with. Micah stepped in it this week.
He stepped in it big time.
Darn.
As a more to follow, I'm sure.
Yeah, what did he say? The Haitians were okay, but now they're not okay, or whatever. He did something that even infuriated the brown shirts out there to the right of him. You know, it has been great having you with us, 5 million. We will be back. I think the next time it might just me and thee.
It will be just the two of us.
You wouldn't want to miss that. Thanks for tuning in.